Hey everyone, happy Friday. Hope everybody's doing well. Good afternoon. Futures Brazil, 3:30 p.m. on Friday, October 11th. Hope everybody had a great week. And as always, before we get started, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. Helps out the YouTube algorithm. And of course, any questions or comments, drop them down below. Happy to answer. And I do answer everything. So, let's jump in. I'm sorry I've been away. I honestly haven't traded much this week. I am down in the Florida area, and of course, anybody in the U.S. knows we had this big hurricane roll through this week. Everything's good here, but obviously it was very distracting, and so unfortunately didn't really get on the charts too much, especially after Tuesday. I did look around today. I think, in one trade still, but which I may or may not hold into the weekend. But anyways, just want to jump into it and just do a review, see where we've been at, and see, what might be setting up potentially for next week. So let's just jump right in. We'll start with copper. And you can see this channel that's been developing since this really started back about almost 2 weeks ago here. When this downtrend started. And you can see we're right back at the top of the channel now. So this is a great area for me to watch, because if we, go, obviously it's not going to happen today, but if we go into next week and start to get some bearish selling pressure here, this would be a good place to trade from. It's a low risk area, because even if it does turn and go up and you get stopped out, it's a low risk area. If this wasn't Friday, I probably would consider just jumping into it anyways, and, with a little bit of bearish price action and just holding it. But seeing that it's the weekend, I'm not going to bother. But this is one I will be keeping a very close eye on. Okay, so of course the other thing that could happen is that we could break through this trend line, and we'd have to look for a trend line break and a retest and then a move up. So some kind of break up, like this, and then a retest of the trend line, either right to it or maybe even a little below, something like that, and then a move up, okay, if that's what it's going to do, okay? But at this point, you have to assume, we are in a downtrend here, so, we'll have to see, what's going on into next week. But it's a great place to watch either way. Because if the downtrend continues, it's a no-brainer sell to sell it back towards this trend line again. But if it breaks through, then you just, the one thing you want to be sure of is that you don't be premature to go long if it breaks a little higher, because the trend line is just a reference point. It doesn't mean price is going to hold exactly to that. In fact, you can look over here. We had this candle break through right here, closed above, and then it ended up going down. We had it come back, retest, and then we had this candle, came back to this high, and then it collapsed. And this actually looks like, basically a market manipulation, where we had a break and a retest, but the retest went below the trend line, back towards the original direction, and that's fine. That doesn't have to just hit the trend line. But this is what I'm saying, where you've got to be very careful about these breaks, that they're not just fake outs, and that the downtrend continues. So just because you see that does not mean that price is going to reverse and go up. I mean, it might, but you need to see some confirmation. This one is very obvious, because when it did come back up, it didn't even take out this. You see, it came back to this high right here. We can zoom in a little bit. Came back to this high right here, and then it sold off. So you just have to be careful and just be patient and make sure the market tells you what it wants to do. In this case, since I was looking, if I was looking for a trade here to go long, if I thought it was going to break out, I would wait and want to see not only this retest, which we got, but then if this candle came back and closed above here, I probably would have gone long right then, because we already had the pullback, and now we see price taking out swing highs. To me, that's an automatic buy right there. But that's not what happened, and you can see price ended up going down. So let's see what happens with this, but this either way is a key area to watch right in here. All right, so let's move on here and let's look at natural gas. So this one, let's see what happens with this. Now, is this a potential break and retest? So we had this channel moving down. Price was holding this very nicely. And then we had this breakout. Price did come back, tried to go higher. It could not. It came all the way back. And now it's sitting at the trend line here. here. So again, previous resistance now being support. So again, I'm not saying that this is going to turn and go up here, but the fact that this trend line is now holding price here is pretty interesting. So again, nothing's going to happen today, but if we come back next week and I see price come up and start, we get a nice bullish signal here, price takes out this swing or this one, then I'd probably be looking just to go long straight away, because we've already had the pullback. If this is a breakout retest, we've already had the breakout, we already had the retest, and now we have to wait and see if prices go higher. Now, it is a downtrend technically still, but, the last swing there was a swing here, depending what you consider the last swing high right here. That one was obviously broken. And this one was matched. So there is still a very strong possibility this just continues the downtrend. But again, this is another critical area to watch, because if we can go lower here and take out like this swing, this low here, I'd probably be an automatic seller. But if we turn and start going higher and get some bullish price action here, then I'd probably just, go long right there. Okay. So another interesting one to watch is natural gas. S&P, this is one I really wish I took. This would have been, the trade of the day or the last couple of days. But I didn't. So I'll just tell you right, I didn't take this. So, but you can see we're in this uptrend. We came down, and again, another area where we broke the trend line. Okay, right here, we did break this upside trend line a little bit. So now that we've done that, maybe I, redraw this whole area, something like this now. This is probably a better drawing. And obviously there's no trade now, A, because of the time of day and the day of the week, but B, because we're not back up here near this trend line. So I'll wait and see what happens when it extends up, if it does, extends up to, back up to the trend line. So, but this is a classic channel and pull back, touch the trend line perfectly, and then rally up. Okay. And copper we already talked about. Okay, this is the one that I'm in right now. This is crude oil. Let's put a channel on here. Take the regular trend line off. All right. And we'll just do this while I'm talking to you guys. And so we have this. Now, you can see I'm in this long. It's pretty much sitting at break even. To be honest, I'm not sure how great this looks. It did hit the trend line, which was great. It tried to go higher and then pulled right back to the trend line. But, some of that might just be also because it's Friday and there's just not a lot of volatility in the market. I'm not sure. But, so I'm undecided if I'm going to hold this into the weekend. I sometimes hold in these commodities, especially things like oil. It can be a little dicey. So I probably am going to close this, although the trend is up. And also, so the other thing I wanted to point out with this is, there is subjectivity with drawing any trend line. I mean, a channel is basically a double-sided trend line, but because I want you to look at this. So the way I have this drawn right now, this area looks like support where price wants to go higher. But watch what happens if I take this one, I drag it, and I connect these lows right here. What does that look like now? Okay, now it looks like this broke through, and now it's retesting it as resistance, and it's going to go down. So this is one of those areas where, it's a little... which one is right, because one makes it look like, things are going to go up, and one makes it look like things are going to go down. But the only reason why I'm leaving it here is because at this point, this area right here, which is where when I moved it up here, I connected this area. This doesn't really look like a real pullback. I mean, it's just kind of like going up. It took a pause, one candle, and then just kept going. This is a pullback, right? This is like a much bigger pullback, went from, one end of the channel down. So to me, this just looks like a better pullback area. My concern with it is that it's not doing anything. It's just kind of stuck consolidating in this area, which is not a good sign for me that, maybe it's going to turn and go down. Okay. So, but, it's a little hard to tell right at the moment because, again, you could easily do this and make a case for a short position. Or, again, you could slide this out and make a case that, this is getting support and it ultimately will go, back to the upside. All right, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with this. Like I said, I'm probably going to close this, to be honest with you, just because it's Friday for no other reason. If it wasn't Friday, I probably would hold it, but I just don't see any reason to hold it through the weekend. It's not worth the risk. I'm sitting at break even now. I can, exit the trade and not lose anything other than the commission that I paid. So, so that's the situation. And that's where we're at right now with these. So I do think oil is the least favorable one right now, just based on what this looks like. And the S&P is great, but this move is already underway, so I'm not interested in that. So to me, it's natural gas and copper will be the two that I watch going into next week to see if this natural gas is a breakout retest and then higher, or if we're going to if this is just a giant fake out, we're going to continue to go down. And for copper, we're right back at, we're holding inside this, great. So let's see what happens. Do we get bearish price action? I probably go to like a 15-minute time frame and maybe look for like almost an internal trend line break right here, to see price come down, take out maybe, like this area right here, something like that. And then, go short, or do we break out a little bit, come back, retest this area, and then go higher? So I think you can make a case for either, and, I'll just keep an eye on this one. We clearly are, trending down in copper. We have been for a couple of weeks now, and, after we put in this blow-off high, which I talked about a couple of videos ago, and so, until this changes, consider it to be in a downtrend, but it'll be interesting to see. So again, copper and natural gas are the two that will be on the top of my list. The ES, I'll just wait and let this thing continue higher and then, wait for a pullback or something. And then crude oil, I just want to see how this one plays out with this trend line. Do I have it drawn in the right place? Is this, more of a bullish pullback, or is it a breakthrough and now going to head down? And it all depends on where you place that line. And you do have to be careful with that, because psychologically you can draw the line in a certain place, and your brain will try to tell you that, yep, that's right. And, you have that bias about what you think it's going to do. So because I drew it to show a bullish scenario that, it's trying to convince me that, hey, yeah, it's going up, whereas if I was convinced about putting it here, I'd say, oh yeah, no, it's going down, right? So, I don't know which one's right as of yet, but we'll find out in due course. So, all right, but like I said, there's no perfect way to draw these. They are definitely open to interpretation and subjectivity, and you just have to be flexible, and you have to be willing to know that you were wrong and readjust. And if it turns out that I am wrong, and it starts going down, that's fine, no problem. Then I delete this one off my chart and I start drawing one in the opposite direction, which, like I said on a previous video, you could almost start doing now. You have this like intersection area right here, okay? And you can see prices just inside this box between the up one and the down one. So if it breaks through and comes back down, then I'll assume that the trend is reversed and that we're going to start going to the downside. So, but we don't know, and that's not going to probably play out today. If the price does move at all here in the next hour and 15 minutes, it's just basically people just exiting positions for the weekend, not because there's anything predictive as far as where the market's going to go since it is Friday. So this is a perfect area where you just have to kind of wait and see how it plays out. And, you can have your idea, but don't be married to it, because you could easily be wrong, and you don't want to leave yourself out of an opportunity in the opposite direction if it turns out that it is going to go down in this case. So, So, drawing in, at these intersection areas when price starts moving sideways is a great way to, again, to help visualize where it might go, because price is like in the box right now. That's what I call it. You can see this box right here. That price is sitting inside, and that's your indecision area. So until it decides if it wants to break out of there and go higher or turn and go lower, then, this is it. So I am long right now, as I said, but I'm probably going to close this out, to be honest with you. So, all right. So I will leave it there, guys. Again, as always, hit that like button, comment, subscribe to the channel. I hope it was helpful, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Have a fantastic weekend, whatever you're going to do, and be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.